So, this is our first road trip to Okanagan since...
Last year,
September, was it?
yeah.
A lot has changed since then, hey?
So much has changed.
Learned some big lessons.
Yeah, moved into the penthouse. It's pretty big. Definitely did some leveling up.
So what would be the top 3 things that you learned since that last road trip?
Let's see here. Top 3 things. As a leader, you must act like a leader. Speed of the leader is the speed of the team. And that for me was, it really hit home when I realized that, even the little actions that you do, right? How you carry yourself when you go out, all these things, it really is a magnified, it's representative of what your organization is going to be about, and you will attract different types of people based on your personal character. Obviously, it's the law of attraction, but to really take it up another level of realization is, I want to attract leaders, I want to attract coaches, I want to attract builders, I want to attract people who are movers and shakers. And there's a different level of character a different way of being that people who walk that walk that they are. They're being, living at a higher level of consciousness, a higher level of morality in a lot of cases. Just personal, things that you would not do, that other people do, they don't realize there could be negative consequences. Even not going out and drinking, is often, in fact, I have maybe done it once this year, but it's cleaning up the personal life and the characteristics, really taking my health seriously this year. And the other thing is learning about time management and really dialing in a daily method of operation that's powerful and something that I can literally see results coming. So those are the little things that I feel last year were kind of sloppy in my life.
Oh, holding you back a little bit.
They were holding me back because I and it's a learning process. We all go through this. Like when you look at your life, it's really it's like you're trying to almost be perfect. But it's not like you can be perfect, but it's just like looking at your life and realizing where some flaws are, and then just going ahead and making changes in those areas, making corrections, right? And as the field of life continues, and different challenges, tests, obstacles, these things come our way, you gain wisdom through the experience of practicing and applying the things that you've learned, right? Because you gain, it's like a collection. Like, I've seen this experience several different times, but laid out in very different ways, but there's some similarities there. And so when you get the lesson, you're like, oh, I think that lesson that I learned in this one experience is now applying in this one. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%. 3 things I got out of that. You hit some really good points. First one.
In 200 meters, make a slight right turn onto highway. Make a slight right turn onto highway 1 east.
She's very persistent. She gives me like 3 or 4 different warnings when I have to make a turn. And she double beeps. She's like, shut up, Lexi.
So the first point you made... Wow, she loves me. Shut up, Lexi. So the first point you made, law of attraction, that's a big one, just being who you want to attract and what you want to attract into your life is so huge. You really got to, think of it as a video camera following you around all day 24/7. How would you act if the world was watching you?
Exactly.
Because God, or whatever your belief is watching you, and we are attracting that into our lives. And it's funny how many people believe in the law of attraction, myself included, before I would take responsibility for the positive things that happened, based on the law of attraction. But then when the negative things would happen, I would blame outside sources, and I wouldn't really own that law of attraction mentality. You know, I would call it a mistake, an accident or a mistake or a coincidence, or, woe is me. All these things were happening to me, and it's because of him or her or this or that. And I wasn't really taking full ownership of it. And I remember that was a huge thing that I had to get over since last trip that we took.
We had some really good coaching on that, didn't we?
We did, yeah. The three things that you taught me on that were the three main things that hold people back in life, which were addictions.
Yep.
And I had an addiction to smoking pot. I never had that my entire life as a teenager or anything. I stayed away from it. But for some reason, getting into or leaving since I left my past career, I fell into this depression, and I fell into this habit of really, taking that in a lot of times, and it was holding me back big time. So that was one thing. Second thing was negative relationships, and I was definitely involved in a negative relationship. Not that the other person was, a bad person or a negative person, but we just weren't right for each other, and it was holding us back because we were both pulling in two different directions.
Yeah.
And we weren't on board for the same vision, the same purpose. So that was really hard and really distracting. And then the third thing was being a victim. Mm-hmm. And all those things I was just mentioning about taking ownership, that's what I was not doing. Mm-hmm. I was taking ownership in some areas of my life, but in my business, for instance, I was not taking ownership when people would maybe fail finance or didn't see the value in the product.
Yeah.
I didn't take ownership for that. I didn't realize that it was my approach that didn't help them see the value. And I didn't realize that it was my lack of action that I got so upset when one person would fail finance, because it was the only person that I was counting on to pay my bills or whatever.
Exactly.
Right?
And the other thing I want to add to that, because I should have put it on there, was pride. You weren't particularly suffering from that, but a lot of times what holds people back is pride. And what that really means is it's like they're not willing to look within. It's like that stubbornness, or that thinking I'm a little bit better than other people in a lot of ways, right? And that is one of the most powerful downfalls for people, because when you're proud, it can make you closed-minded. It can make you closed off. And there's this old saying, I actually got this from Les Brown, right? You're never too old to learn, you're never too young to teach. And
true.
It's there's lessons that I'll teach you, there's lessons that you'll teach me. Right? And we always need to have that student's mind. So because we helped you work through those things, massive changes happened in your life.
Massive changes.
Yeah, 100%. And you basically did a huge leveling up, and we moved you from where you were out in Surrey to a massive penthouse, which is certainly not a bad place to live.
No.
It's a pretty nice place in Vancouver. That's definitely
such a blessing, really.
It's a huge blessing, right? And
I'm so grateful to have that and wake up to that every day, and just remember how far we came every single day by waking up to that inspiration.
And what it is it's really a symbol of what you can manifest when you apply yourself, when you focus on your vision, the feeling of your vision. Because remember, I know you used to have the same dream. I used to literally imagine, like when I was listening to music, driving down the road, I would imagine myself dancing in a penthouse.
Yep.
And in an inspiring place. And obviously now that has come to fruition for both of us. And that's a pretty cool thing to realize, that when you hold that frequency, when you hold that energy, you're going to bring it towards you, right? It's that law of attraction. It starts on a neurological way.
Yeah, and I think you really just got to know what you're going after. And you're right, I remember writing that down and visualizing that since I was 20, 21 years old. And it's not a coincidence that we were both visualizing that in separate lives and then came together and ended up getting a place together, making that happen.
Yeah.
You know? And I think it's really important to make a note of the fact that if you don't have a target, if you're not looking for something, you know, it works exactly like Lexi. You know, we programmed in that we're going to Kelowna. That's our target. And she's given us the roadmap to get there right now.
Yeah.
But if we just got in the car and we're like, let's go for a drive, let's go for a nice Saturday afternoon drive, and we didn't have any destination, well, then any road would take us there and we'd show up who knows where.
Not that it wouldn't be fun.
Not that it wouldn't be fun. Sometimes you want to do that.
But it's not target specific.
Yeah, so we wouldn't get what we wanted because we didn't know what we wanted.
Yeah.
So when you find out your target, and there's no right or wrong because any target has really been accomplished in this day and age by someone out there.
Yeah.
Coming from worse places than we came from.
Exactly. So there's always something or someone you can identify with or relate to. It's really, there's no such thing as being the victim. You know, we can all move forward, and the past doesn't have to hold anybody down. It doesn't matter where you've come from. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you've done. It just matters where you want to go and what you believe about yourself. Because if you believe in yourself and you believe that the past doesn't hold you back, you're not the mistakes of your past. Like Jordan Belfort says, you are the resources and capabilities that you have gleaned from your past. I love Jordan Belfort for saying that because my past was very much in the party scene and you know, just got mixed up with the wrong crowd. And the reason that happens is because I didn't have a lot of guidance. I didn't have a lot of instruction. I didn't have a lot of teachers or mentors. And I think
you did. It was just in that party area. So that was your those were your teachers.
Very, very, right? Yeah, those were and that became my languaging.
Exactly.
So I became familiar with that, and that became the world that I knew. And I realized this is what the I guess the line in the sand for me to leave that world was when I realized that most of the people who are in that lifestyle are deeply unsatisfied and unhappy with their lives. And I looked at the results, and at the end of the day, who's teaching you? What results do they have? Are they happy? And I didn't see an abundant life there. I saw a life that I personally felt resembled emptiness.
100%.
Emptiness and falseness. And it didn't have love. It didn't have joy. Maybe there was temporary love and temporary joy, but much more periods of none of that. It didn't have peace. It didn't have purpose, and it certainly wasn't fulfilling. It's short-term fulfillment, short-term meaningfulness, short-term love, short-term joy. But I want the everlasting. I want life in all its richness. And I know that we all deserve that, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And once you taste that other side, I mean, there's no going back. I mean, I can't go back to that party scene now. I was the same way, you know. I fell into that easily accepted crowd, you know, and you think that they're your friends, but it's really just a facade that, you know, you're saying is just so fake, you know. And I've had some rock bottom moments in my life, living out of my car and sleeping on floors, and then in those moments I realized all those people that were there in the party times when I had all the money to blow weren't there when I needed them.
Exactly.
They weren't real friends. They weren't true relationships.
And that's not to judge them. It's just that that is a reflection. Your friends are a reflection of your internal.
100%.
And there's certainly not an eternal reflection of who they are or you are. It's always temporary. It's always a phase. As long as you can move past it, as long as you can grow through it. But sometimes people get stuck, and they get stuck for a very long time. And you know what moves people sometimes is, I guess, what did Jim Rohn say? disgust. Disgust is one of the most powerful shaping, moving, changing agents that we can experience. When you're disgusted with your life, or disgusted with the situation, or disgusted and you need to change. Now you need to move forward. You gotta do something different. And when you reach that point, when people reach that point, that's where change creates. And sometimes it's that reflection of these people around me are not the people that I need. They were people that I temporarily wanted because of some short-term fulfillment, some type of gain or experience. Maybe it was popularity, maybe it was money, maybe it was whatever.
Just fitting in, feeling
being
accepted,
validated, but not realizing that true validation doesn't come from other people. You need to be validated by your own self, and to feel validated, you need to be operating in, and this is what John DeMartini says, in your highest value system. When you're operating in your highest value system, then you know that you have purpose and structure and things that are coming to you that are good because you're operating in a way. And if I was to sum up, and tell me how this sounds to you, how do you know what your highest value system is? My answer to that is in absolution, in absolute morality. And if you break that down and think about it, that means doing what is good, doing what is right, thinking good thoughts, doing good deeds, speaking good words, and making sure that you do as little as possible, like as little as you possibly can of any wrongdoing. You know, I'm like, always walk in a righteous walk, in a good path. And I believe that when you do that, doors open up to you, because anything negative, anything that goes against absolute morality takes away from who you are, because it's operating at a lower level of values.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And you know, it's just such a low energy. It was when I was at those places, you know, when my morals weren't in check and my ethics weren't in check, it was such a draining experience, you know. And Tony Robbins says the most important part of life, to experience the full quality of life, is high energy. And that needs to come from all, you know, three aspects of your life. Physically, you need to have your health in check to have that high energy, you know, because you're not bogged down by toxins and destructive habits like alcohol and drugs. You need your finances in check so that you have more to give, because the more that you can give, the more you can receive. And
it's really hard to be really healthy in most places in the world if you don't have your finances in check.
Because what does that create? Massive stress. Creates stress. And that breaks down your body more than anything.
Yeah, and not only that, you have to, if you can't afford to buy healthy food, it's a real issue.
Yeah. And then that third piece is that emotional level of that peace and joy and love and purpose and fulfillment that you're speaking of. Because when you're coming from a place of selfishness or self-centeredness, and you're kind of up against the world, you're just looking what you can take. You can't take from the world or any other human without taking from yourself, and that's why we feel drained afterwards. And on the same flip side, you can't give to another and give to the world without giving to yourself and bringing in those high levels of emotion.
Exactly. It's giving is really receiving at the highest level, because you can't stop that internal reward system. And you know, even the Bible says, store up treasures in heaven. You know, and don't seek treasures here, things that will rust, things that will wear away, things that will turn to dust. If you think about that, you know, kingdom of heaven is within you, it's within us, and what that really means is, okay, store up treasures in heaven. If the kingdom of heaven is within you, and giving is receiving, I mean, you really, the more you go and realize that nothing is yours, right? You're not leaving here with anything. You weren't born with anything. You know, we came in naked and crying, and we'll, you know, go out that way a lot of times, you know what I mean? And
well, Les Brown says everyone comes in naked, speechless, and dumb. It's up to us to, you know, develop those qualities.
Yeah.
You know, I heard from Robert Kiyosaki, it brings up a great point. Robert Kiyosaki, you know, Christian man, and he really talks a lot about tithing, you know, giving back. And the way that he put it is the best I've ever heard it. He said, God is the most powerful business partner you can have. When you're in alignment with him, he does 90% of the work.
Hit the pause button.
And he only asks for 10% of the...
So Robert Kiyosaki said God's best business partner ever.
Yes, he says that God, you know, does 90% of the work when you're working with him, but he only asks for 10%.
Yeah.
So, you know, put aside 10% to tithe to whatever charity of your choice or church of your choice, or even just simply going out and giving gifts to people on, you know, on the streets or whatever it is. You know, maybe a family member, maybe a friend that needs some help. But you're just putting aside that 10% to give it back to the universe, to God, whatever your belief is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tithing and giving is huge. And there's times where I was at literally, you know, rock bottom, like not much to my name, and you know, I would still give almost, you know, there was times in my life where I had like maybe $20, I mean $50, nothing saved, just, you know, $20 bill. Maybe there's work coming, there's things down the road, but you know, and still give, you know, $5 or $10, you know, like literally. That, you know, if you put that into proportion, if all I got is a $20 bill, or if I got $20 million, if I give away $10 out of my 20, that's the other thing. That's like giving away $10 million. Okay, it's. I mean, yeah, you might think that sounds kind of silly, but it is based on proportion. Just because if you have $20 million, or if you have $20, if you're giving away half of what you have, that's half of what you have.
The amount's not important.
The amount is
right, and you know, I know I used to say this all the time. I would say, well, you know, once I get to a certain level of financial success, then I'll give back, then I'll give to charity. You know, because I feel like all of us want to do those things. All of us are touched and moved when we witness those things or experience those things of giving. But a lot of times we're in our own lack mentality. We're not acting in faith. We're acting in fear, and that's the biggest thing that you'll, you know, get out of that experience, is being able to just give 10% even when you don't think you have enough.
Yeah.
You can always find it, you know what I mean? So if you have $20, I mean, give a couple bucks away, you know, take that 10%, whatever it is to you. I mean, start with 1%, doesn't really matter, but...
Now, I'm sure like most people, I've been guilty of not doing that. And it's, the way I look at it, it's a continual practice of faith. And the more your income, the more that's, you know, obviously you'll have to give away. You know, the bigger that number, that 10% is. And sometimes if we're still attaching, and this is why I'm going to speak from my own experience actually, when I know that there are times where I want to give that, and I've experienced where moments of like, whoa, like that, because that used to be a lot of money. I mean, like I said, there's been times where all I had was $20, and all of a sudden I'm going to give away a lot more. And you know that it's intimidating to give that away. It's almost a little scary, and because you're like, oh, that seems like a lot, you know, like, and so something to always work on is to believe and have faith. Hey, when I had that $20, getting $3 or $4 or $5 was important to me, but I could afford, right? I didn't fall on my face. I have yet to fall on my face. I've tripped a couple times. Oh, lots of times. But I haven't fallen on my face. I don't think God will let me. It doesn't work that way.
Our needs are always taken care of.
Needs are always taken care of.
I mean, I can't even count how many times I've been at rock bottom.
And then
in a new country, no friends, no family to help me, and it's like, and then something will happen. I remember one time being in California, literally being homeless that night. I was in La Jolla, one of the most inspiring, wealthiest neighborhoods in the entire USA, and I literally had no money whatsoever. And I was walking around in the gas station carrying my, my suitcase that I had with me, and just waiting until I could get into this place that I was staying with a friend who was going to take me in the next couple days. But I literally found a $10 bill on the sidewalk that I could go and get food for, because I was just starting to really get super hungry, And I've had so many experiences with that, and I'm sure you have as well, of just not even knowing where it's going to come from, but it does, and your needs are taken care of. I've always had a roof over my head. I've always had enough money for food, even when I just completely left my job and everything behind, and it always worked out,
Well, when you think about it this way, you've been blessed, so be a blessing to others. And, life isn't about the attainment of goods. It's about what you can give, and it really is. So I always encourage people to practice that, to tithe. It's something I'm always working on, right? And I appreciate the challenge. And, there's times where I've made a commitment to a donation, and the money just somehow comes in, right? And I think about what can you buy with all this money? A car, a house, a boat, maybe clothes and meals and dinners. But then what? Okay, so it's just
that's not a lot of money, even if you get the highest, nicest stuff.
You know what? When I was a kid, we had this boat my dad made. Made it.
Handmade it?
Well, we bought this shell, okay, and for a seat, he just put like this. He made this. He took this like 4x5 plank wood, like it was just big square wood, right? He put it down, so we had this square bench to sit on, and I think he probably paid honestly maybe a few $100 for this thing. And my dad worked. He got the motor all working really good. He went to what do they call it? A little auction. He went to an auction, and he got this little motor that some guy was selling, and he didn't even pay much for that. He paid a couple. So really inexpensive, and we had to fiberglass the bottom of the boat.
Cool.
We had to it looked handmade, but not in a high level. It was very. But honestly, when we took the family out there, we dropped this thing into the lake, and people in their nice fancy boats, they look at us, they kind of chuckle oh my gosh, look at that freaking boat. But you know what? We had the best times.
Blast!
We had so much fun, us kids. We would be tubing. There's Dad, he's just making big crazy circles, and he's just laughing his face off, whipping us around on this tube, dumping us every time. He just loved making us, drink 14 gallons of water. It was the best times ever. And you know what? We had a pool. He went and he got one of those above ground pools. Okay, $300. We had the best times ever because it was a big circle. We'd get all of the kids in the neighborhood come over. We'd run in big circles around the pool until the whole thing was like a whirlpool. You can't do that. You can't do that in a fancy pool. Okay, it's because they're square. It's deep. But you know what? We would do that so many times, and we just spin in circles, and we'd have so much fun. We got a trampoline. He got it at some discount place or something like that. And then he put it together. He was amazing. And the thing is, didn't have a lot of wealth, but he made stuff. He was creative. He was ingenuitive, right?
Yeah,
So
it's a huge point.
having money is fantastic, but it was the experience of giving, you know, and creating.
He wasn't just sitting at home being like, "Oh, woe is me, I'm broke and I can't afford a boat."
Yeah.
He got out there and he made it happen, and he spent some good quality time with his kids. And
my dad is still to this day an amazing giver, and one of the biggest lessons he ever taught was he's such a humble guy. He would go out and do great things for the city that he was living in, and he was like the guy that nobody even knew about. He would give the fortune and the fame to other people. He would pass it on. He built a whole baseball field for the kids, and you know, he fought against the city to make sure kids had a big park and a field to play in. You know, what did that mean to him? Well, he was getting far more. See, people were wondering, why is this guy trying to, like, you know, do all this nice stuff? He started a computer recycling company, and he literally created this thing that was saving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, or thousands, of tons of computer waste going to landfills. And he just literally created this out of his own time, no money, no profit. And he made this work, and then he gave it away. And people were like, well, why would you do that? What is he getting out of it? People didn't get it. They didn't understand, because they thought, well, maybe he's getting money out of that somehow. And he's like, no, I'm just trying to make a difference. I'm giving. And, you know, the feeling, again, one of the things is that treasure. It's that giving. So for him, maybe giving or tithing wasn't always a fair option. But what he gave back was far greater than 10%.
Yeah,
Tithing doesn't always have to be financial. Maybe
it's whatever resources you have to give. I mean, if you literally have no money to give, you always have time to give, and time is more valuable than even money, because it's the only resource we can't get back.
Exactly.
You can make all the money back, but you can never get back your time.
Every second of life is priceless. Every second of life.
I mean, even something simple as giving a gift of a compliment, or, you know, an appreciation to someone.
Yeah.
And I think that just reminds me of a point that it's like, again, whatever you're giving is what you're going to receive. So whatever you're feeling lack of in your life, start giving that, you know? If you're feeling a lack of appreciation, start giving appreciation and building other people up. If you want that fame, you know, like your dad was doing, he was giving it all the fame to other people, and that's what the greats like Gandhi and Mother Teresa, and that's what they did. But then it turns back on them, because everyone loved them for that. Everyone loved them for giving that, you know, sense of pride and fulfillment and fame to other people. They shined the spotlight on other people, so then all those people wanted to shine it back on them.
Right, but it wasn't that they gave that spotlight to other people because they wanted it back in turn. They just didn't